Discipline is not something you're born with. It's not built into your DNA, and it's not something you can inherit from your parents or pick up from a motivational quote. Discipline is a choice. It's a conscious, daily decision. And if you want to be the best, not just once, not just occasionally, but asterisk asterisk, day after day asterisk asterisk, you need to understand this. Discipline is everything. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Most people think discipline is about being strict or having a cold military-like approach to life, but it's not. It's about making a commitment to yourself and honoring it, even on the days when your motivation disappears, and trust me, those days are coming. There's a myth floating around that successful people are just wired differently, that they wake up motivated every day, spring out of bed, and glide through the hard stuff. That's nonsense. Most of the people you admire, athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, they don't feel like showing up every day, but they do it anyway. Why? Because they've trained themselves to choose discipline over comfort. That's what you need to do. Every day you're going to face a fork in the road. One path leads to comfort, to sleeping in, procrastinating, skipping the workout, making excuses. The other path, it's uncomfortable. It demands effort, focus, follow through. Discipline lives on that second path, and let me be clear, choosing discipline doesn't feel good in the moment. Waking up early hurts. Studying when you're tired is annoying. Showing up for practice when you're sore is brutal. But those moments, those are the training grounds for greatness. That's where you separate yourself from the average. Anyone can be motivated once in a while. But the best, the ones who rise above, they asterisk asterisk force themselves asterisk asterisk to show up when no one's watching. And that's what discipline really is, doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't want to. It's brushing your teeth every night even though you're tired. It's saying no to fast food when you're trying to get in shape. It's hitting publish on your work even when your inner critic is screaming. It's choosing your goals over your feelings again and again, because your feelings are temporary but your habits are permanent. Discipline is the system that turns goals into reality. Now, here's the truth. Discipline isn't something you find. It's something you asterisk asterisk build asterisk asterisk. You build it by starting small. You don't climb a mountain by jumping to the top. You take one step, then another, then another. You keep promises to yourself. You wake up on time when the alarm rings. You write one page of the book. You do 10 push-ups when you said you would. And every time you follow through, every time you choose action over avoidance, you're strengthening the muscle of discipline. And like any muscle, it grows with use. But here's the part people don't talk about enough. It's going to feel uncomfortable. That's normal. It's supposed to be hard. You're retraining your brain. You're rewiring years of patterns and habits. And yet, you're going to fail sometimes. You'll hit snooze. You'll skip a day. You'll mess up. But that's not the end. That's part of the process. The real test isn't whether you fail. It's whether you asterisk asterisk get back up asterisk asterisk and recommit. When you make the daily decision to be disciplined, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop letting how you feel dictate what you do. You start living with intention. And over time, that choice becomes your identity. You stop saying, I want to be great, and start asterisk asterisk acting asterisk asterisk like someone who is great. That's how you win, not by hoping, not by wishing, but by deciding that who you are today won't be who you are tomorrow and backing it up with action. So if you want to be the best, not once, not occasionally, but asterisk asterisk day after day asterisk asterisk, then stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for motivation to strike. Choose discipline. Choose it today. Choose it tomorrow. Choose it when it's hard. Choose it when it's boring. Choose it until it becomes who you are, because the person who chooses discipline over and over again becomes unstoppable, and that's how you rise. That's how you win. That's how you become the best, one disciplined day at a time. Your feelings are liars. They're not reliable. They're not facts. They don't always tell the truth about what's good for you or what you're capable of. Your feelings are just signals, and most of the time, they're trying to protect you from discomfort, not push you toward growth. If you want to be your best self, day after day. You have to stop letting your feelings drive the car. Because if you do, they'll take you straight to procrastination, laziness, regret, and mediocrity. That's the harsh truth. Your feelings don't care about your goals. They care about keeping you comfortable. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll do it later," just because you didn't feel like it? How often have you skipped the workout, avoided the hard conversation, or ignored the opportunity because it just didn't feel like the right time? And where has that gotten you? You can't grow if you only act when you feel like it. Because feelings are fleeting. One moment you're fired up, the next you're tired, anxious, bored, or overwhelmed. If you wait for the perfect mood, the ideal conditions, the magical wave of motivation, you're going to be stuck forever. The people who win in life, the people who build success, health, and confidence, they've figured this out. They've learned how to feel fear, laziness, doubt, and still move forward. They don't pretend those feelings don't exist. They just don't hand them the keys. They've trained themselves to act in spite of how they feel. And that's a skill you can learn too. You've got to understand that your emotions are not instructions. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you skip your goals. Just because you feel scared doesn't mean you run away. Just because you feel unmotivated doesn't mean you stay stuck. Here's what most people don't realize. The moment you start acting, not thinking, not planning, but actually acting your feelings begin to shift. Action is what rewrites your emotional state. You don't wait until you feel confident to speak up. You speak up and confidence comes after. You don't wait until you feel inspired to write. You write and inspiration catches up. That's why you have to stop letting feelings make the decisions. You take the action and your brain and body will follow. This is where the 5-second rule becomes a game changer. When you feel hesitation kick in, when you start to overthink, stall, or feel the wave of resistance, count backwards. 5-4-3-2-1 and go ***. It's a mental trick that interrupts the loop of doubt and activates the part of your brain responsible for decision making. It pulls you out of autopilot and into action. It's not about hype or positivity. It's about using your biology to beat your feelings at their own game. Now let's get real. Your brain is wired to avoid pain and seek comfort. That's evolution. That's biology. But your goals don't live in the comfort zone. The best version of you isn't lounging in bed or scrolling through your phone. That version of you is out there pushing, sweating, failing, learning. And your feelings are going to fight you on that. They'll tell you to play it safe. They'll tell you to stay small. That's why you can't wait for your emotions to give you permission. You have to override them with commitment and action. Look around. Most people are stuck in patterns run by their feelings. They live life reacting instead of choosing. And that's exactly why they never reach their full potential. But you're not most people. You're here to be better day after day. And that starts with emotional discipline. It starts with noticing when you're making decisions based on comfort and choosing courage instead. It starts with recognizing when your feelings are trying to keep you average and calling them out for what they are, lies. It doesn't mean you ignore your emotions or pretend everything's fine. It means you acknowledge them, but you don't obey them. You understand they're temporary, and you remember your mission. You stay focused on who you're becoming, not how you're feeling. Because the truth is, you are always just one decision away from momentum. One decision away from progress, one decision away from being better than you were yesterday. So the next time your feelings whisper, "Not today," you speak louder. You say, "Too bad, we're doing it anyway." You count 5-4-3-2-1 and move. You take the reins, you lead with action, not emotion, and you build the kind of life that most people only dream about. Not because you always felt like it, but because you didn't wait for permission. You decided to be your best, no matter how you felt, day after day. That's how greatness is built. The 5-second rule isn't some motivational gimmick. It's a tool grounded in neuroscience that gives you the power to beat hesitation and take control of your actions. And if you're serious about becoming the best version of yourself day after day, you need to master it. Here's how it works. The moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, whether it's getting out of bed, speaking up in a meeting, starting a workout, making a phone call, you count backward. 5-4-3-2-1, and then you move. You physically launch yourself into action. You don't wait. You don't debate. You don't think. You just go. Now, why does this work? Because when you count down, you interrupt the habit loop that's been running your life. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, to conserve energy, and to avoid anything that feels risky or uncomfortable. That's why you hesitate. That's why you procrastinate. It's not because you're lazy or unmotivated. It's because your brain senses change and immediately pumps the brakes. But the 5-second rule cuts through that mental fog. It jolts your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision making, into gear and gives you a window to act before your excuses kick in. Think about how many times you've talked yourself out of something that could have changed your life. You wanted to speak up, but you hesitated. You wanted to go to the gym, but you waited too long and gave in to comfort. You wanted to start a new habit, but your feelings took over and you stayed the same. That tiny moment of hesitation, that's where your dreams die. And that's exactly where the 5-second rule saves you. It gives you a simple, powerful way to break the pattern and take the action your future self is begging for. Let's be real, you're not always going to feel like doing the hard things. You're not going to feel like waking up early. You're not going to feel like studying or practicing or pushing yourself. And if you let those feelings decide for you, you will lose every time. That's why you need a tool to override them. The 5-second rule is that tool. It's your way out of your old habits. It's how you shift from being reactive to being intentional. It's how you stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. It works because it's fast. You don't have time to get in your head. You don't allow fear or doubt or excuses to build momentum. You take control in the very first few seconds, and that's all you need. Momentum starts with one action, and one action repeated builds a habit. And those habits become your life. You're literally training your brain to move before it resists. The more you use it, the more natural it becomes. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start counting. Let's say your alarm goes off in the morning and you feel the pull to hit snooze. That's your moment. Don't think, don't argue with yourself. Just count 5-4-3-2-1 and throw off the covers. That one decision sets the tone for your entire day. Or maybe you need to have a difficult conversation. You feel your heart race, your throat tighten. That's your cue. 5-4-3-2-1. Make the call, say the words, action. Every time you do this, you're proving to yourself that you can trust your instincts, that you're stronger than your excuses, and that you are in control. It doesn't matter if the action is big or small. What matters is that you build the habit of moving, starting, taking initiative. That's what separates the people who succeed from the people who just wish for success. The 5-second rule puts the power back in your hands. It makes change simple, not easy, but simple, because once you start using it, you realize how many opportunities you've been letting slip away just because you were waiting to feel ready. Let me be clear, you will never feel ready. You will never feel 100% confident. You will never feel fully comfortable stepping into the unknown. But with the 5-second rule, you don't need to be. You just need to decide, count down, and move. That's how you build discipline. That's how you build courage. That's how you build momentum day after day, even when you don't feel like it. You stop waiting. You stop overthinking. You start acting. And in those tiny moments of action, you start becoming the best version of yourself. one 5-second decision at a time. Micro wins are the foundation of long-term success. They may seem small, even insignificant in the moment, but when you stack them consistently, day after day, they build something powerful, momentum. Most people think success comes from big, dramatic breakthroughs the moment you land the dream job, publish the book, hit a major goal. But that's not how it really works. Those outcomes are the result of thousands of tiny choices made over time. It's not the one workout that transforms your body. It's showing up over and over again, even when it's hard. It's not writing an entire book in one sitting. It's writing one paragraph today and another tomorrow. Micro wins are the reps that build the habit, and habits are the engine of achievement. The problem is we overlook them. We underestimate their value. We're so obsessed with the end result that we ignore the power of simply showing up. But if you can learn to recognize and appreciate micro wins, things like waking up on time, resisting a bad habit, doing 5 minutes of focused work, sticking to your plan for just one more hour, you start to train your brain to feel progress. And progress is what keeps you going. It's what fuels your confidence. Because when you string those little wins together, they start to shift your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about understanding how behavior change actually works. Your brain is wired to repeat what feels rewarding. So every time you celebrate a micro win, you reinforce the belief that you're capable. And that belief becomes self-fulfilling. You stop waiting for motivation to strike and start building it through action. You don't need a perfect day, you need a win to build on. And the best part, micro wins are always within reach. They are under your control. You may not be able to change everything overnight, but you can drink a glass of water instead of grabbing soda. You can take a 5-minute walk when you don't feel like working out. You can sit down and write for just 10 minutes when your brain says you're too tired. When you approach life this way, you shift from an all or nothing mindset to a growth mindset. You stop giving up just because you missed one target. You start focusing on the next win, the next moment, the next right action. That's how you stay consistent. That's how you avoid burnout. Because when success is only measured in big wins, you always feel like you're falling short. But when you learn to track and appreciate the small victories, you stay in the game. And the people who stay in the game the longest, they win. Think about elite athletes. They don't wait for championships to feel proud. They celebrate finishing every workout, mastering every drill, making every improvement, no matter how small. That's how they get better. That's how they build mental toughness. The same applies to you. Whether you're building a business, changing your lifestyle, learning a skill, your progress lives in the small things you do every day. And the more you notice those things, the more control you feel over your journey. You also have to be intentional about tracking your wins. Write them down, keep a log, reflect at the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I do right today? Where did I push through when I wanted to quit? What habit did I stick to? This isn't about ego, it's about evidence. When your inner critic shows up and says you're not doing enough, you can point to your track record of small wins and say, actually, I'm moving forward. That shuts down doubt and keeps you grounded in reality. The truth is, success isn't about giant leaps. It's about deliberate steps repeated often. It's about doing what matters most, even when it's hard, and even when it doesn't feel like it's making a difference. Because it is, micro wins create momentum, and momentum changes everything. It gives you the energy to keep going, the confidence to take risks, and the strength to get back up when you fall. So don't dismiss the small stuff. Don't wait for the perfect day. Focus on what's in front of you, win that moment, then win the next. And before you know it, you've built a life you're proud of, one micro win at a time. Repetition creates excellence. It's not glamorous and it's not exciting, but it's real. If you want to master anything, if you want to become great, if you want to be your best day after day, you need to embrace repetition. Doing the same thing over and over again, even when it's boring, even when no one's watching, even when the results aren't showing up yet. That's what greatness is built on, not talent, not luck, but consistent effort. Repetition is how you wire habits into your brain and your body. It's how you go from being a beginner to being a master. It's how the best performers in the world, athletes, musicians, entrepreneurs, rise to the top. Not because they do everything differently, but because they do the fundamentals relentlessly. There's this belief floating around that success is about finding the perfect strategy, the next hack, the shortcut. But that mindset keeps you chasing shiny objects instead of doing the real work. The truth is, you don't need a new plan every week. You need to execute the basic things over and over with focus and commitment. Show up, do the work, repeat. The ones who win long-term are not the ones who try the most things, they're the ones who repeat what works, until it becomes second nature. Think about how skills are developed. When a basketball player shoots 1,000 free throws, they're not doing it for fun. They're doing it to build muscle memory, to hardwire that motion into their nervous system, so that when the pressure's on, they don't have to think, they just perform. The same principle applies to you no matter your field. Whether you're writing, speaking, selling, studying, leading, you get better through reps. Repetition breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds confidence. The more you do something, the more natural it becomes, and eventually the things that once felt difficult become automatic. But here's where most people get stuck. Repetition is boring. It's not fun to do the same routine every day. It's not exciting to practice the same skill for weeks or months before you see results. Your brain wants novelty. It wants stimulation, and that's exactly why so many people quit before they ever get good. They confuse boredom with failure. But boredom isn't a sign you're doing it wrong, it's a sign you're doing it right. That repetition is starting to take hold, that your brain is learning, that your body is adapting. Don't run from boredom, lean into it. That's where the transformation happens. Repetition also builds trust in yourself. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're proving to yourself that you can be counted on, that you follow through, that you honor your word, and that trust, it compounds. It turns into self-respect, and self-respect turns into confidence. Not the fake, surface-level kind, the deep, unshakable kind that comes from knowing you earned it. You didn't get lucky, you put in the reps. There will be days when the progress is invisible, when you feel like you're going in circles, when you wonder if any of this even matters. And on those days, repetition becomes your anchor. You go back to the process. You do the work. You trust the system. Because success isn't about getting everything right all the time, it's about doing the right things consistently, until they start working for you. Repetition is how you break through plateaus. It's how you go from good to great. And here's the most powerful part. Repetition doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. Every time you repeat a behavior, you cast a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Wake up early, that's a vote for discipline. Study even when it's hard, that's a vote for focus. Work out again today, that's a vote for resilience. And the more votes you cast, the stronger your identity becomes. You don't just do disciplined things, you become a disciplined person. You don't just act confident, you become confident. That's the real power of repetition. It builds identity. So if you want to be the best, stop looking for shortcuts. Start looking at your habits. What are you willing to repeat every day? What are you willing to practice, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one sees it? That's what separates the amateurs from the pros. That's what makes you unstoppable. Show up, do the work, repeat, every single day. That's how you rise. That's how you win. That's how you become the best, one rep at a time. You are not always going to feel motivated. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like a wave. One day you're fired up, and the next you feel completely drained. If you build your life around motivation, you're going to have a really inconsistent and frustrating journey. That's why successful people don't rely on motivation, they rely on systems, discipline, and a clear understanding of their why. They build routines that keep them going when their emotions try to drag them off course. They don't wait to feel like it, they do it anyway. Think about it. If you only worked hard when you were in the mood, how much progress would you actually make? Not much. You'd be stuck in a cycle of good days followed by long stretches of inaction. You'd celebrate a productive morning, then slip back into old habits by the evening. That's not how consistency is built, and consistency is everything. It's what turns a goal into reality. You need to accept right now that there will be days, many days, when you just won't feel like showing up. Those are the most important days to push through. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's the commitment to your future self. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doers. The people who win don't have more energy, more time, or more motivation than you. They've just trained themselves to act regardless of how they feel. They don't wait for the mood to be right, they build habits that keep them locked in on their goals. When you create a system, you remove emotion from the equation. You don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" You ask, "What does the system say I do next?" You create routines that are so automatic, so embedded in your daily life, that they become part of your identity. You become the kind of person who works out every morning, who writes every day, who studies every night, not because you always feel like it, but because it's just who you are. And the longer you follow that system, the more natural it becomes. Discipline becomes the new normal. And don't get it twisted, this doesn't mean you're turning into some robotic, joyless machine. Quite the opposite. Discipline actually gives you freedom. It frees you from the ups and downs of your mood. It frees you from the stress of procrastination and the guilt of wasted time. It gives you the peace of knowing you're moving forward, even on the hard days. That kind of consistency creates confidence. It creates momentum. And momentum is what makes the hard things start to feel a little bit easier. But to build that momentum, you've got to learn how to get started, especially when you don't feel like it. This is where tools like the 5-second rule come into play. That moment of hesitation, when you're tempted to skip the task or delay the action, that's your signal. Count 5-4-3-2-1 and move. Don't think, don't debate, act. That's how you interrupt your feelings and activate your focus. Once you start, even if it's just for 5 minutes, the resistance starts to break. You realize it's not as bad as your brain made it out to be. You get into the flow, you feel the shift. Over time, your relationship with discipline changes. It's no longer something you have to force, it becomes something you trust. You know that no matter how you feel, you'll do the work. That's powerful. That's what makes you dangerous in the best way, because most people will quit when it's hard. Most people will hit snooze, take shortcuts, skip the reps, but not you. You'll keep going. You'll stick to the system. You'll do what others won't. And that's exactly why you'll get what others can't. So stop chasing motivation. It's unreliable. Build something stronger. Build a system. Build habits. Build a version of yourself that shows up, no matter what. That's how you become unstoppable. Not by feeling inspired, but by deciding every single day to be the kind of person who follows through. That's what greatness is made of. That's what success demands, not perfect days, just relentless commitment, whether you feel like it or not. There's one truth you have to understand if you want to be the best version of yourself day after day. Growth only happens outside your comfort zone. That's where transformation lives. That's where resilience is built, confidence is developed, and potential is activated. But most people stay stuck in their comfort zones because it feels safe. It feels predictable. It's the place where you already know the outcome. You don't risk failure, rejection, or embarrassment. But you also don't evolve. You don't stretch. You don't achieve anything beyond what you already know. If you want real growth, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to be willing to do the things that scare you, that challenge you, that push you to the edge of your ability. That's where the breakthroughs happen. That's where you discover how strong you really are. And yes, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to be messy. You're going to stumble. You're going to face resistance, but that's the whole point. That's how growth works. You tear down old patterns and build new ones. You expose your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. You lean into the discomfort because you know what's on the other side of it: progress. Think about a muscle. It doesn't grow when you lift what's easy. It grows when you push it past its limits, when it breaks down and rebuilds stronger. The same thing applies to your mind, your habits, your identity. You don't grow by doing what you've always done. You grow by doing what you've never done, by stretching beyond what's familiar, by taking on challenges that force you to adapt, to think differently, to respond with courage instead of comfort. But here's the truth: your brain is wired to avoid discomfort. It's designed to protect you, to conserve energy, to avoid risk. So every time you try to stretch, that little voice kicks in. This is too hard. You're not ready. What if you fail? And if you listen to that voice, you shrink back. You stay small, you stay stuck. That's why you need to override it. You need to recognize that discomfort isn't a stop sign, it's a green light. It means you're going in the right direction. It means you're growing. The fear you feel, it's proof you're pushing yourself. Don't run from it, use it. Start small. You don't have to leap out of your comfort zone all at once. You expand it bit by bit. You make one bold decision today. You have one difficult conversation. You take one uncomfortable step, and then you do it again tomorrow. Over time, your comfort zone grows. What once felt terrifying becomes normal. What once seemed impossible becomes part of your routine. And the person who once doubted their ability becomes someone who trusts their power. And that power, it's not about being fearless. It's about acting in spite of fear. Every time you choose discomfort over ease, you're telling yourself, I can handle this. That belief compounds. It becomes confidence, not the kind that's loud and arrogant, but the quiet, unshakable kind that comes from doing hard things and surviving. The kind that shows up when life throws curveballs, and you don't flinch because you've trained for it. You've lived through challenge. You've built the grit. When you build the habit of stepping outside your comfort zone, you also build momentum. You stop waiting to feel ready. You start taking action. And action is what changes everything. You stop being the person who talks about goals and start being the person who chases them. You stop doubting and start doing. You stop letting fear make your decisions